So I'm here today with Tim Goski, one of my teammates from the 71-72 team. And thanks for joining me today, Tim. So let's start back at the beginning. I first remember you from Little League, playing against you back as a 12-year-old. You were probably 11. And so I remember that, and I remember that you had a bunch of brothers because my dad was coach, and I guess your dad was a coach too. And but I never saw you play hoops back at that age. So when did you start playing basketball? Do you remember the first time?
Oh yeah, and that was in Westfield Little League Baseball, and
Yeah,
yeah, I played for the Giants. You played for
Pirates,
the Pirates.
the green
I played
jersey.
on Neil Chamberlain's dad was our coach. I
Oh
played with
yeah,
Butchie Chamberlain.
yeah. I
And,
remember the Giants. Yep.
yeah, my dad coached the Cubs for years before that, and so he was always doing that. But our first, we played basketball with Bill Clancy's father-in-law, Mr. Mastrada.
Oh yeah.
You remember him? I think he
Yes.
came right before we took off for our state championship game, and he came walking in the gym, and he looked at me and he said, "What's the name of the game?" I said, "Put the ball in the hoop." He taught me that when he coached me when we were like I was on Mark Jackson's team, and we were what? When do you start? 8 years old?
Okay. Yeah.
Little League, Washington School. We
Oh
played
yeah,
Little.
Washington School. Well, I don't know if that was, yeah, it's probably maybe fifth grade, fifth or
Yeah,
sixth.
yeah, yeah, young
Yeah,
guys. And Mark
yeah.
Jackson was like Bill Russell, and so we played there. I was more of a baseball player,
Yeah,
lousy football player, but baseball was my game.
right, right. Well, so when was the first time you ever played at Gumbert? I know you were probably there before I was. Do you remember the first time you played down there and what year it
Yeah,
might have been?
yeah. Right after our eighth grade year, Pete McGale, whose older brother Barney, you remember Barney McGale?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Pete and I were best friends at Holy Trinity. Then he was going to go over to Edison,
Okay.
and so um, we found Gumpert, and we would go down there and play on the fourth court down there.
Right.
He stole this track shirt from Edison track team and gave it to me, and I thought it was the coolest shirt, and I'd wear it all the time. Can you see me? Okay, there's a glare
Yeah.
coming over here. That's all right.
Yeah, I can see. All right.
Yeah. So and that was probably '68. We started showing up there,
Right, right.
and
So
that
that
was.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then we would walk over and watch the guys on the front court, and that was like Dave Wool was playing for Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It opened up your mind, like, holy smokes, these guys are like in college. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, because I remember back when I was in junior high, I think my dad and older brother were telling me about
And
these really good players playing down at Gumbert, including John Samoji and Dave Wool.
yeah,
And I think I
Michael Locko from
oh
Union
yeah, I'm
Baptist.
sure there were a bunch of guys who
Yeah,
I didn't know at that time. They were just except those big names. But I remember watching them from a distance back then, back in junior high.
yeah.
Afraid to
That
get
that
any.
was that was eighth grade, and then ninth grade. I remember going down with a bunch of guys from Holy Trinity, and Pete McGale moved to Pennsylvania, but that's when I started hanging out there and just working out. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. When I was a sophomore, so I'm in 10th grade, and you're still in ninth grade over at Holy Trinity. And I remember um, one of the big things that happened that year was, well, I played on JV, but our varsity team played against Holy Trinity in Westfield's gym. So Holy Trinity comes in with Joe Cullinan, who's like a super sophomore. I had never heard of him, but obviously he was doing great things for Holy Trinity. And Holy Trinity whooped him by about 10 points, I think. That was kind of a shocker for
I
Westfield.
was I was at the game, and my
Uh-huh.
brother Johnny started.
Yeah, I didn't realize that
He
at
was
the time
guarding.
probably, but I remember reading about that later.
Yeah, Johnny's like 5'10", and he was guarding Kevin McGlynn, like
Yeah,
6'5", 6'6". And
yeah,
I got to know Kevin. He was a good dude. Yeah, he was a good ball player, and his older brother too. But
yeah,
uh, Johnny, those guys beat him. Joe Cullinan scored like 32 points or something.
Yeah, I just remember it was a
And
bit of a shocker. I mean, what Holy Trinity wasn't supposed to beat Westfield, the
right.
little Catholic school down the street, but
Yes,
it
sir.
happened. So anyway, I was wondering, was the fact that Cullinan had all this success there, and you're a year behind him at Holy Trinity, um, what did he play a role in your deciding to transfer to Westfield? How did that all happen?
No, not at all. He was just a
Oh,
great guy, great player. Jack Steimel was playing a bit. And we all
yeah,
know Jackie, right? And
yeah.
Jack was just, I saw him recently, well, about a year and a half ago down at the beach. He's a great dude. He was playing. I was on the freshman team. I just wasn't that good. And they had a JV team, and we
Right.
would suit up with them. But
Okay.
we would have like, excuse me, we'd have like 20 guys, and we'd all have the Trinity uniforms, and we'd
Yeah.
take the second row, and I was
Yeah.
I never would play. Steve Sexton was in my grade, and
Yeah. I remember
he's a
Steve.
he was a good friend. He played. He
Yeah.
was the up and coming star. I was nobody. I just wasn't that good. I played a lot, but
Yeah. But obviously so you had to keep improving, because by the time you next year comes around, you do transfer to Westfield as a sophomore.
that was a pretty quick improvement. They would
I-
not play me. And John Moffett was the coach there, and he didn't think that wouldn't give me the time of day. My JV coach wouldn't give me the time of day, so I quit like
Wow.
about before Christmas because I knew I wasn't going to play. And
Well, that was in ninth grade, right? You're talking
yeah,
about.
ninth grade.
Yeah. Okay.
And I went to so I hooked up with St. Helens CYO because my parents helped create St. Helens Catholic Church down there
Okay.
by Rawway Avenue.
Okay.
And they developed a Catholic youth organization basketball. CYO
Yeah.
had leagues. They
Yeah.
play St. Mary's and play all the teams all over the place. So I jumped in there, and all of a sudden I got to start and run and gun.
Yeah.
And and I was playing
Yeah.
with my best friend Jeff Davis, who ended
Oh
up going to
yeah.
West Point,
Absolutely.
Bobby Davis, and uh, Bruce Moran, and all these guys. It was fun. But
Yeah.
we got to play full court, and that's all that mattered.
So that was back in ninth grade during those winter months. You played the
Yeah, during the
CYO
winter
then. I
months.
see.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, by the time you did get to Westfield as a 10th grader, now, so did you transfer to Westfield just because you thought you'd get more playing time, or was it different?
Yeah, and I was getting in a little trouble over at Holy Trinity, and I think mom and dad, were putting in a few of us into public school. They were tired of paying it, and
Yeah. Right.
so they saw my Richard went into public school and had access to a lot of more stuff and more sports, and dad was like, "Yeah, go ahead." So that's when that summer, spring and summer, I started living at Gumpert. That's when I was
Right.
going down to Gumpert, and I must have improved enough
Yeah.
because I remember seeing Mike Cooney show up down at Gumpert during the summer, and
Yeah.
he's across the court and he's shooting around by himself, right?
Yeah.
I'm there with a few guys from Trinity, and maybe Pete was there, and somebody said, "That's your competition." I was like,
So you didn't really know Mike
yeah, I
yet.
didn't know Mike because I was going into 10th grade
Got it.
first year.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
Mike had the sweet shot. He's doing behind the
Yeah.
back, and I'm eyeing him down, man. I said, you know what? I've got to excel on defense to lock this dude up. Because you could tell he was shooting like 30 footers and hitting everything by himself.
Yeah.
And I was just getting a picture of my competition and just getting geared up to just try to do what I had to do to destroy him.
Yeah. Well, when I was in 10th grade, I had you obviously had been putting in time at Gumbert, because I remember Alan Diomblake telling me that uh, he had heard about you, or maybe had seen you down there. He said, "Listen, this guy Tim Goski, he's getting really good down at Gumbert. You better watch out." So obviously, other people were taking notice.
I
And
remember Al from Little League Baseball, you know?
yeah,
We all
yeah,
we,
yeah, of
I
course,
think
yeah,
that's where we all know each other from is Little League
absolutely. Yeah,
Baseball.
I remember him from there. And then he was one of the better players in the sixth grade clinic
Yeah.
at Washington School as well.
Yeah, he was
But
a better player and he was a good guy.
yeah,
So yeah,
good
I could
athlete.
always, chit chat with him and
But
I guess I started just, I started losing a lot of weight and just
oh,
started running and gunning. Yeah, I was heavier,
okay,
back and I just started running
okay,
everywhere,
yeah, yeah. So anyway, that sophomore season, you get to team up with Novacek and BJ and Cooney, all those guys from Edison and Roosevelt, and you really had an awesome season, 18-4, with
Yeah.
the only real nemesis being Scotch Flames, who beat you guys three times.
Right.
So what do you remember about the sophomore year? I mean, it was really a successful season, but
It was.
other
I
than
remember
Scotch Flames.
the first time we lost to Schnitzer, I went home and cried myself to sleep in bed.
Hmm.
That's how bad I wanted to beat that kid.
Yeah.
And that was the third game of the year. And then
Wait,
we
are you talking about when you were
stopped
on varsity or the
JV,
sophomore season?
JV
JV?
because they never beat us in varsity.
Oh, right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll never
Okay.
forget that. And I said that, but we just kept on playing, and Mr. Tyrone Eddie Tyrone was a great coach, and we had a good season. Even though we lost
Yeah.
to those guys, our big highlight was playing at Roselle Catholic right before the Elizabeth Roselle
Yeah.
uh, semifinal yeah, it must have been the semifinal game
No,
or
well,
final
you guys
game.
lost in the finals. I remember seeing
Oh,
that
okay.
game to
All
Scotch
right, so it was the
Flames.
finals, and we lost to Schnitzer, but
Yeah.
we beat Roselle
Well, you definitely lost
JV
to Scotch Plains in the semis. I mean, in the finals. I forget who you played in the semis.
So this was a semifinal game. We played Roselle in the semifinal game. Right behind us, Roselle was playing Elizabeth in the semifinal. So
Okay.
all the Elizabeth fans started rooting for us to
Yeah.
beat Roselle JV.
Okay.
And these guys were good. Reggie Beard, they
Yeah.
had it was first like third team all these guys were really good. Mitch, all these guys I got to know, and we beat them. And
Yeah.
that was the first time when we thought we were ready, man. And the Elizabeth crowd was like backing us up because they were all ready to start a riot against Roselle. I mean, that was a blood game, and that was a lot of fun. But then Scotch Plains beat us in the finals. So
Yeah. Had you even seen Schnitzer before that year, or was that your first time going up against him?
well, I had heard about him. I think I saw him at Gumpert once or twice. I had heard about him from Pete McGowan, my buddy, at ninth
Mhm.
grade at Edison. They played against Scotch Plains, and this kid, it was like Pistol Pete, floppy
Yeah.
socks, long hair, and he was like what I
Yeah.
wanted to be like, and he was good.
Yeah.
He could handle the
He was
rock,
like a
and
miniature version of him. That's kind of what I
yeah, it's just that as you and I got bigger and older, just by a few years, he kind of peaked a little earlier than we did,
yeah.
so we could kind of lock him up on defense. And that's the best
Yeah.
thing you and I ever did was playing one on one and just beating the crap out of each other with defense, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember how tiring those games were.
And they were endless. You don't remember. I remember we played hours on end and would just
Well,
claw
it
and
felt like
scratch each other and
it felt like I don't know how long it actually was, but it was exhausting. That's all I
yeah.
remember.
But we learned how to play intense defense is what I'm
Yeah.
saying,
Well,
you know?
yeah, I tried, but at some point you get too tired, and then it's hard to stop you. But yeah, so I remember. So after that season, then in the summer '71, that was really my first year playing like on court one at Gumbert. I had been down there the previous summer too, but not on the first court, playing on the other courts. And of course you were on the court. You would probably were on the court one the year before, I imagine the summer before.
Now I
But
think about the same year, Steve.
okay. but anyway, that was basically every night that summer. I remember that I felt like I needed to be there every night because it was going to be super competitive the next year. And of course, we ran into all the guys from the neighboring towns and also guys who were older than us who still went there. That was that was definitely helped my game. I know it, and I know it helped yours too. But so going into preseason senior year or my senior year, your junior year, I think we had kind of a lot of confidence going into the season, and of course we had Nova and BJ and Pfeiffer, and so we had all these guys who had so we had potential for Gracie. What were your expectations going into that year?
Not much, to be
Really?
honest. Not
Really?
really. No, I knew you and I just had been beating the piss out of each other all summer long. I knew
Hmm.
we were tough, we were intense. Uh, Nova, BJ, Larry. I wasn't real sure about Larry or Tom. I
Yeah.
wasn't of course, I knew Tommy Pfeiffer forever from Little
Yeah.
League
Yeah. Yeah.
Baseball and all that, but I didn't know how about their talent. I don't know. I was just hoping, and we had a new coach, Neil Horn. We
Yeah.
didn't know him. I don't think we wanted him. We wanted Stu Carey or Mr. Tyrone. We
Oh,
went up
okay.
to lobby Mr. Lay, and
Yeah. He came
thank
out of
God
nowhere, that's
Mr.
for sure.
Lay, made the right decision and brought Neil in. So I didn't have much. Did you? I mean, I didn't think.
Well, I thought, we were going to be better than the last couple of varsity teams. But the previous year we were like 13-10, so it was kind of mediocre.
Listen, Scotch
Question is,
Plains. Yeah, Scotch Plains was the big team. They
yeah,
were supposed to win it all. So was Cranford. I mean, we were gonna be in a scrape every night. You
yeah,
know that. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I remember thinking Scotch Plains was third game of the season, and to me, that was the big game of the season. So that's
Yeah.
how much they were kind of in our head.
Yep.
Uh, but I thought when we played a lot during preseason, and I had kind of a good feeling because I knew that I think we were just getting better, and then we had Nova, who was kind of a little bit of a wild card or an unknown, but an unorthodox talent. So and then we had Larry and Tom, and they were playing football, so we didn't really get to play with them in preseason, but. Um, but anyway, what was it? It had to be a little bit of a playing for Horn had to be a little bit of an adjustment for you because you were sort of a classic playground player, and then Horn comes along and he's like super disciplined. Was that hard, adjusting?
No, we got
Yeah.
along marvelously. I just, asked him, "Hey, Mr. Horn, can I do anything I want?" He said, "Sure, go ahead." It was, but he was good. He was really just a good teacher, disciplinarian, which I very much needed, as you know. Yeah, I
Mhm.
was a loose cannon. I had some talent, but you know what? I could make three great plays, and then the next play, the behind the back pass would go to the fourth bleacher up in the stands, right? So yeah, we know
Yeah,
that. So he uh,
yeah,
he really kind of honestly made my career. I would say I think I had the talent, but you got to have a good coach to rein it in and teach you how to use it.
exactly. And I remember some very specifically early in the season. You had the first game when you scored 1 point and fouled out. Not
Yeah,
the best debut that in the world. And then the third game we play Scotch Plains and we're killing them in the first half, and then they catch up and then they get ahead by 6 points in the fourth quarter. And I think he put you on the bench, and I don't think he put you in the rest of the way, which surprised me when I watched the tape. So that had to be kind of
he was
demoralizing for
he
you.
was he was a genius, and that was so painful. He put Mike
Yeah,
in, started
yeah,
Mike the second half,
yes, yeah.
and I was just like bumming out. I don't even know if he put me in or not, but we won. And I went home and I was like, I mean, you can imagine, right?
Yeah,
You
you
and
had
I
to be
put so
beside
much
yourself.
into it. We're
Yeah.
like depressed, like what the heck, you know?
Yeah.
And he
Okay.
started, I think he started Mike the fourth game at Union.
Yeah,
And
actually, it was the fifth game. I remember that he
yeah,
started Mike, which was another kind of
base job on
sending
me.
him a
Yeah.
message. But
Yeah.
then you finally came in and you had like 10 assists and
No, I
six
had
steals.
16. I had 16 assists that game.
Oh, 16 assists. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, it
And
was
I
unbelievable.
maybe 10 or 11 points, but I was giving it up. I was playing and I wasn't trying to please him. It just kind of fell into that way, but I got the message. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, I think that was pretty clear, and it worked. And then it actually that kind of was in some ways a turning point because after that game, I think you just like went to another level and started playing like you could really play. And we, started ripping off these big wins against, first
Yeah, I
rate.
think I blended in with the team better. I
Well, you
realized
did, you
it was a
did, but
team thing.
you were producing more at the same time.
Yeah.
Your scoring went up quite a bit, but it was all in the context of the offense. But but we had all those big wins, Colonia, Jefferson, Cranford, Scotch Plains, all in a row. And
Yeah, it was a really magical time, when you think about it for us guys. We were on this ride, this roller coaster ride. And I'll never forget, we go to practice, they wanted to take pictures of us. We were like 10-0 and
yeah,
number one in the county and number 10 in the state. Remember that? I think we had just beaten Elizabeth and
we were eight and they were first, and we beat them. And then I think the next day or
we
two,
were
guys,
we were number one.
papers came to take all pictures and everything.
Yeah, but we were number one in the county. And that to you and me, we were like, holy crap, maybe we got a squad. I'm looking at Larry's, in the
Yeah.
picture. He's built like, like Mike Tyson, and Tommy was a big dude. And all of a sudden we had a team, and
Yeah,
we were gelling.
the balance. Yeah, you could see the balance. We had really good balance
Right.
and chemistry. So what obviously Horn was, and so the rest of the way we win a lot of close games. There were so many close ones, especially down the stretch. So what do you remember most about Horn, like the way he coached the games or the way he ran practices? Do you remember anything specifically about the way he ran practices? And
Yeah. Yeah. I remember we'd start out and I thought it was the smartest thing, uh, for skill, um, for being quick and dodgy. He'd always give us a basketball, and we try to steal the basketball from each other.
yeah, oh yeah, I remember that.
Who was
Absolutely.
always left at the end? Most of the time, you and me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was pretty easy to knock the ball away from Scott. He was.
And Larry and Tom. Well, Tommy was tough. Tommy would put his butt into your, he'd get you. But it was so much fun. I mean, that was really smart. And of course, if you ran your mouth, you got the suicides going on. And
Yeah,
you know what?
I remember the full court 1-on-1. We did that all the time. Just
Yeah.
where you had to guard the guy, and he'd have to work his way up court, like
And he would do last second drills, right?
last second drills. Oh yeah, yeah. So we would. Yeah, he'd say, okay, 4 seconds left on the clock, and you know,
You're,
we're down one. We got to run a sidelines out of bounds or underneath. We did those all the time. I remember, which was smart because those are situations you run into at some point.
looks like you have a screen issue. You see
Yeah,
that?
it's flashing on your end too. I mean,
No, no. Well, yeah, it's on my end, but I see my picture's okay.
yeah, mine is jumping around. That's all right. That's probably not the important part. But anyway, so yeah, I remember a lot of those things. And then we ran so many individual drills, but then we did team stuff as well. So he kind of mixed it up every practice. Uh, and
And
then he,
the offense he had, that weave that we did
oh yeah,
was and
emotional offense.
backdoor. I mean, that was no. I don't know if anybody else did that stuff. I don't think we played anybody else that did that.
That was
A freewheeling weave, you
yeah, it
know?
was like a motion offense where you just continually change positions. It would,
Yes,
and if the defense fell asleep, a guy'd be open on a cut.
on a
And
backdoor cut. Yeah, it was great offense
yeah,
for
and
us.
then we had a couple plays you run off it, like red 100, where we'd have a double screen, and then the guy would come off that,
Right.
would usually be wide open in the lane. But the so uh, you know, we finally the end of the season, we kind of win the big game, but I think we both felt probably a little ambivalent after that. I know I felt we should have won that thing going away, but we barely eked it out. What do you remember about the last game, or the way how'd you feel after the last game when everything
Well,
was
you saw me when I missed that foul shot. First of all, I went to the line and told everybody. I told them and us. I said this game is over. Remember? You
Yeah, I remember
remember
you
that?
saying that later. I don't remember it at the time, but I remember you saying that, many years later.
Yeah, I told those guys, those big guys on the other team, and Mark Leonette, I said, this game is over.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Well,
I mean, this is what I lived for, practice all my basketball life, forever,
yeah,
however long it was. I was going to hit this last shot and put this thing to sleep. And I missed it, and Scott made the great play. And then read the last picture is me sitting on the floor. Somebody, you came up with that picture. I was
yeah,
so, we just won a state championship, and I'm like sitting on the floor almost in tears because I missed this dang shot to win the
yeah.
game.
I never knew you did that. And then a few years ago, you mentioned that, after you missed the last shot, you just went to half court and sat down. I
Oh,
found it hard
yeah,
kind of hard to
I think I
believe, but
fell down. I was just so pissed off.
yeah,
And that was you and I realizing we didn't
yeah.
play as well as we should have. That was
Same
that
thing with
competitive.
Larry. He was just standing there too, like
Yeah, yeah.
shell shocked. But
Yep.
thank God Scott was there to clean things up. I mean,
And
it was a remarkable play at the end
And
too.
as time has gone on, even shortly after that, nobody remembered any of that. All they knew is that Westfield won the Group 4 state
Yeah,
championship. So when we went down to Gumpert again, which
yeah,
was more important. I mean, winning the state championship was important, but going down to Gumpert
yeah.
and showing up there as a
That's where
state
that's
championship,
where you have bragging rights.
I thought I died and went to heaven. I mean, I'm ready to play all summer long.
Oh,
I'm up on the first court now.
oh
They
yeah,
can't push me off.
absolutely. In fact, it had to be, obviously the next year I'm off at Bucknell, but it had to be pretty neat for you guys to try and repeat, because now you guys are the sort of the favorites, and everyone must have been gunning for you, and you guys actually had pretty amazing season and came really close. So it must have been neat trying to defend and having
Yeah.
everybody come for you.
Yeah, I think Linden beat us again in the counties, but playing against Weequahic, our final game, which I had a good game. I was just I think I had 25 or 28 points, something like that.
Yeah,
But Bobby, was it Scott and Jimmy had like mono. I mean, they literally couldn't even. They were exhausted, and we came so close.
yeah,
If we had beaten them, that would have been fun. But the thing is, how ironic. We went to play at Scotch Plains Gym. We forgot our uniform, so we're playing in. I'm playing in, I think, Ray Schnitzer's uniform.
yeah. I heard
With
about
Scotch
that. It's
Plains
like
on it. So.
that's like voodoo.
Oh no, it's okay. But all the guys that were underneath our basket, Leo Nolan, Norm Hobby, even Ray Schnitzer, all
Yeah,
these guys that were in our class
yeah,
were there screaming for us.
yeah.
You know,
It
for
must,
me, for Nova to beat Weequahic, because it was Union County against Essex, which was
yeah,
kind of cool to see, you know?
yeah, that really is. I wish I could have been at that game.
And
That must have been
yeah,
awesome.
so it came real close, but shoot, that
Yeah,
would have.
I heard you had an amazing game that day. I know BJ raved about it, and so did Horn. But yeah, it's too bad those guys were kind of playing sick. But anyway, so I mean, did it? I mean, I think like probably for most of us, it kind of took a long time to really appreciate what we had done in 71, 72. Did it? I mean,
Yeah,
did it ever really hit you, or did it just as time went on, you started to appreciate it more?
yeah, well, of course, you know, I mean, going to Georgia, you know, I was first team All SEC freshman team.
Hmm.
Uh, Although I started for the varsity, I wasn't first team All SEC all over, you know,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
for the
yeah,
freshman.
yeah.
But to start as a freshman, that was the first year, so that was a big thing for me.
Oh yeah,
And then I got sidetracked into the other stuff and
yep.
ended up going to Texas. And you know, after that, we came back and we had our first meeting. You know, I didn't really think much of it. You know, I mean, when I came down to East Texas State, there were guys, Nate Granger from Weequahic,
Yep.
Billy Roberson from Roselle, guys from Jersey City, Floyd and
Then
Thurman Green. I mean, all these players, Larry McGee from
Larry
Linden,
McGee,
they
Larry
all
McGee,
played
yeah,
for this team, so they all knew me, and I had instant cred with
yep,
all the guys, you
yep.
know, because I knew these guys. You know, these guys knew me, and I knew them. I used to play against them, and yeah. So you know, it wasn't until I moved back to New Jersey in '83 when we had our or '82 we had our reunion. Uh,
Oh
the
yeah,
guy
the
Courier
10 year,
News.
we had the 10 year one weekend. Yep. Just
Yeah, you know,
kind of a mini
and
reunion.
it's
There was about six of us there, 6 or 7 of us.
brought back a lot of memories, and yeah, I don't know. You know, Clancy was still around. I'd go into New York City and play with him and at PS 105 against like Phil Jackson and stuff, who wasn't coaching yet. You know, so I'd go into the city with him. And you were around too. We
Oh yeah,
were sort
yeah.
of
No,
big.
absolutely. We'd still play at the
But
Y, and then we had a couple of well, we never went to
yeah, it
Cincinnati
didn't.
together, but we did we certainly played a bunch of Y games, and
Yeah.
Clancy was definitely around. Uh, what was that? Just tell me one more time about that thing with Ernie Grunfeld. That was a crazy story.
Oh, yeah. After my senior year, when I was when they put out the first team All State, all that. So it's
Okay,
in the
so
spring, and I used to go to Hebrew. What was that in Elizabeth? HEB, Hebrew Educational. Uh, they had a high school.
yeah,
Uh,
okay,
this guy that texted us, who was Yusuf, used to play. I think we played these guys. The guy's last name was Yusuf. He was led the county in scoring.
from Hillside, was
Yeah,
it
Hebrew.
Yusuf?
Yeah, they were from Hillside or Elizabeth on the
Okay,
border, and so uh, I used to go there and play. Okay, because I knew one
yeah,
of these younger guys that would always ask me to go play, and I play with those guys. They were great. Ricky Gomez would meet me there, and uh, so one day this guy Sandy, who's Sandy Pignon, who is one of the best um, trainers in New Jersey. He's trained Kyrie Irving. He's trained about 10, 15 guys going to the
yeah.
NBA. He was a little dude and wanted to hang around with us. He would ask us to come in and play. So he's like, hey, we're having this big tournament, best of New York against best of New Jersey All-Star game. And the place
Hmm.
was packed. Okay. And at halftime, we want you to play one-on-one against Ernie Grunfeld. I'm like, okay, well, who's that? They go, well, he's like big, you know, a great player from New York. I'm like, I'm cool with that. And he's 6'5" or 6'6",
Yeah.
and so we had this all-star game. Then he and I played one-on-one. Nobody left the gym. The gym was going nuts. It was just running up and down the court. And he was pretty quick. But I was faster than him, you know, because I'm a guard.
Now you actually played. You didn't play full court, did you?
Full court, man.
Full
And I
court.
came flying down and did a move up and under, and people were going nuts. And he would come flying down and walk it down the court and just beat me up and take it on. Yeah, he's bigger than me, but
Yeah, yeah.
it was just a real fun thing.
That's pretty wild.
And we played against each other at the following year, and when he was at Tennessee. I don't remember that, but
Well, he was part of the Ernie and Bernie show.
yeah, I wonder if he was a year younger than me, because I don't remember, as a matter of fact, playing him as a freshman.
Well, he might have been. I mean, he was there with Bernard King. I mean,
Yeah, they were a
yeah.
year younger than me.
Okay.
I'm thinking, I don't remember playing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah,
It
because
does make sense to me now, because I didn't play against him as a freshman. I don't. I played against Ray Schnitzer at Georgia Tech. I
yeah,
remember that.
yeah, that could be. So, anything in particular that you liked about the book, or did it bring you back any memories that maybe you had forgotten?
Yeah, it was a great book, and I had forgotten most of it, Steve. We go on. Excuse me. We go on in life, and we live our lives with kids and wives, and time goes on. And the way you wrote the book was just, and going down the details of the game. I mean, for us guys, it was just so wonderful to relive it. And I heard from my brother, I heard from other people, Bill Clancy, by the way,
Oh yeah,
people that read the
yeah,
book, and they're like, that I couldn't put it down. It was incredible. I remember, because you mentioned guys like Bruce Johnson and the YBA. My brother Kenny was like, I knew Bruce really good, and Dickie Myers was like my best friend. We used to play at the YBA.
yeah,
Everybody had a memory in
yeah.
there,
Right.
treasured memory that came to life again. Is
Yeah,
what it was, and it was really good. For us, it was special. Just, each and every game breakdown, it just brought back memories. I totally forgot most of them.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people. And obviously I had a lot of help researching to remember some of those details, but it kind of came together pretty well.
You need to
But
make a movie out of it. Just put
yeah,
Brad
well,
Pitt. Make Brad Pitt my.
we'll, we'll see. We'll see. We got to find somebody to play Nova. That might be a tough one though.
Yeah, well, if they made one like Rudy, this could be a typical basketball thing done right.
Yeah,
Anyway.
somewhere between Rudy and Hoosiers.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's right. That's right.
But anyway, I just, I should ask before we go, we were really lucky that we got to play, every day when we were young, and we achieved some success. But then, years later, your two boys go into like real battle serving their country, and obviously ultimately paid the ultimate price. So, I mean, it was so hard to learn all about that, and obviously tragic for you. And it kind of makes basketball seem trivial, when you think about that. But you had to be really proud of your boys just serving their country,
Oh
right?
yeah, we're people of faith. My wife and I are devout Christians, and I raised my boys that way. So that gives us hope that we'll see them in the afterlife. It does, and
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. It's been a long haul. I mean, we remember them every day, but uh, they reach the NBA of their profession. As special forces, a Green Beret and a MARSOC Marine. That's the top. Okay,
right,
you got
right.
the SEALs, you got the Air Force PJs, Green Berets, and MARSOC, and they were right there, man. They're the one percenters, and each 6 tours. So I'm very proud of them, and they paid the sacrifice. They sacrificed. They did what they had to do. You know, and they were
Yeah,
tough. They were tough. They were tough like we were tough.
they were Goskies.
They were
Absolutely.
Goskies, and
Yeah.
you were tough too. I mean, it's
Yeah, but we like I said, it almost seems like a luxury to just sit back and think about basketball. That's just a fun game.
But you know what? It was
Baseball?
also a very nice memory, during a strenuous time.
Yeah,
Wonderful book, so my boys are fine. They're in the hands of the Lord.
yeah. Amen.
Confident of that. And so to go back and do that memory of that, remember all that was just wonderful. It was the way you did it was great, the whole book. And I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did.
All
And I'm
right.
glad you included all the guys from Gumpert and all these names that came up
Yeah.
that people forgot that you and I remember because we were down there more than anybody. You and me were down there more than anybody,
Hmm.
and I was down there more than you.
Oh, I know you were. I know you were.
To
You
see
were the
all
reason.
those
You were the
guys.
reason I started going. I
I
knew.
mean,
Yeah.
Tim Kish and from Colonia. I remember them guys, man. They were just lunatics. The Flaherty boys and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fights and just that's how you learned how to live life, on a
Yeah.
basketball court. You learned how
Abs-
to barter, you learned how to work with each other, that you learned how to grow up and be mature and suck
Yeah.
it
And
up
they.
and tough it
I
up.
think.
Or if you didn't tough it up, you went walking back down to the fourth court.
Yeah. That's for sure. I mean, you learn that pretty quickly. You win or you sit.
That's it.
That'll teach you more than any coach can ever teach you. You know.
But you learned life's lessons too.
Yeah.
You learned that's what I think is the biggest thing we learned there was life's lessons.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
work hard, you can achieve something. You and I, the lights would go out and we'd still be playing one on one. And then we get in your old Pontiac and go down. And I never had any money, but you'd always buy me a root beer down at the White Diamond, those ice mugged root beers.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that,
10 cents. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. They were good for sure. Yeah. Well, no, there's no, yeah. Gumbert was a game changer for us and for all the guys, Union County and beyond. It was a great
And it
place.
happened to be right in our town. What are the odds
We
of
were
that?
very lucky.
What are the odds of that? The greatest place to play in
Very
all of
lucky.
Union and Essex County was right in Westfield.
I think we got to thank Roger Kindle and Dave Wall, all those guys who probably told other people you got to come to
Oh
Gumbert.
yeah, yeah.
They got it started. And
Eddie Grizel from
oh
Springfield
yeah,
and his older brother. Those guys were
yeah.
great. Guys from Colonia, Clark, everywhere.
Richie
Ed Melmy.
Schlaba, Andy Blavas, so many of them.
You and I were like, what the heck? How are we playing with these guys? These guys are like studs. And then we started playing with them. And then Jimmy Burke, I'll never forget the first time I stole the ball from Jimmy Burke.
Yeah,
He came down, pop, 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 and that's when after we won the state championship, and I put out my hands real low,
yeah,
and I caught him doing the behind,
yeah,
doing the crossover, and I stole it and went down for a layup. He couldn't stop me, and I said, I'll never forget it. When I
yeah,
stole the ball from him and went down for a layup, I said, I knew I turned a corner. There
yeah.
was something
Oh
there that
yeah, he was.
achieved. I got him. And
Yeah, absolutely. He was the best at that time, and he was so low to the ground. Even you had to really work to keep him in
yeah,
front of you. Yeah, but it was no, it was a proving ground for sure.
yes, it was. Yes, it was.
But it's not there anymore. It's too bad. But at least we captured a glimpse of the way it used to be in the book. So
You did, and and for that I thank you. And it was again to all those names and all those memories of Gumpert, not just in our season too, but the Gumpert thing that made us
yeah,
and all the players was special. That's why so many people just read it and just got a great feeling from it, and the YVA and Westfield sports and the whole thing.
yeah. Yeah, it was the whole scene. It was we were lucky those things were there. It gave us a chance, and then Horn came along. It was like a perfect storm for us.
Exactly.
Things came together that one year, so we were blessed. Anyway, hey, thanks Tim for this. This is awesome, and go have a nice long bike ride now. Work up
Yeah, I
a
think I'm
sweat,
gonna.
and
And
then
we'll see you soon here. And if we head down to
yeah,
Florida,
hopefully
March,
next next month or in March, yeah, we'll see you down in Florida.
Yeah, I'm in touch
Nice.
with Mike and Rich, and we'll put something together right around
Yeah.
the time you're down there. I want to see Tommy too, definitely.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
Larry's in touch with us as well. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
all
Tim,
right, brother.
say hi
Good
to
talking to you.
Kathy, and we'll see you soon.
Tell Susan hi, okay?
All right.
All
Take
right,
care.
man. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.